Welcome to Between Rooms. I'm Elizabeth McCracken, and this is a podcast about what happens when the life you were holding together finally asks you to stop holding quite so much. Not because you failed, not because you quit, not because you became weak, but because at some point, even the strong one has to sit down. And maybe that's where the real story begins. I have spent most of my life being the person who could handle it. That's not a complaint. Not exactly. There are beautiful things about being capable. People trust you. They come to you. They believe you will know what to do. They hand you the clipboard, the crisis, the child, the plan, the grieving person, the broken system, the impossible deadline, the room full of people who need someone to stand up and sound certain. And if you're good at it, you can start to confuse being useful with being safe. You can start to believe that your value lives in your ability to keep going, to solve it, to explain it, to survive it without making everyone else uncomfortable. For a long time, I thought strength meant staying upright, no matter what. I thought strength meant walking into the next room before I had really grieved the last one. This episode is not going to be my whole life story. That's not what we're doing here. There will be time eventually for the chapters, for the details, for the people, for the rooms I left and the rooms I built and the rooms I stayed in too long because I thought leaving would mean I had failed. But today I want to make a promise to myself and to you. This podcast is not going to be a performance of healing. It's not going to be a place where women come to tie a ribbon around catastrophe and call it growth. It's not going to pretend that everything happens for a reason. Some things don't. Some things happen because people are careless. Some things happen because families keep secrets. Some things happen because systems protect themselves. Some things happen because bodies break, marriages fail, parents die, jobs end, children struggle, friends disappear, and the person everyone counted on wakes up one morning and realizes she has no idea what she needs because she has spent a lifetime knowing what everyone else needed. This podcast is for that woman, the one who kept going, the one who made the appointment, packed the lunch, wrote the obituary, answered the email, led the meeting, paid the bill, cleaned the kitchen, found the missing cleat, sent the thank you note, smiled in the hallway, remembered everybody's birthday, and then sat in her car for 5 minutes because she could not make herself open the door. This podcast is for the woman who looks fine, maybe especially for her. I called this podcast Between Rooms because that is where I seem to have lived the most honest parts of my life. Not in the grand entrances, not in the clean endings, but in the thresholds, the hallway, the pause, the breath before you become whoever the next room requires you to be. I have been a daughter, a sister, a wife, an ex-wife, a mother, a stepmother, an educator, a leader, a woman with a title, a woman without one, a woman praised for being strong, and a woman privately exhausted by the cost of that praise. I have stood in hospital rooms, courtrooms of family memory, if not always actual courtrooms, classrooms, boardrooms, bedrooms where marriages quietly ended long before anyone moved out, living rooms where everyone knew something was wrong but no one said the true thing out loud. And most recently, I have found myself in a quieter room, the room after the career, the room after the adrenaline, the room after being needed by hundreds of people every day, the room where nobody is asking me to lead the agenda. And I'll be honest with you, at first, that quiet did not feel peaceful. It felt suspicious. It felt like loss. It felt like if I was not needed in the same way, maybe I was disappearing. That is a hard thing to admit, but I think many of us know that feeling. When the crisis ends and you should be relieved, but instead you feel hollow. When the role changes and you don't know where to put all that competence. When your nervous system has been living on assignment for so long that the rest feels like irresponsibility. And I want to talk about the phrase, the strong one, because people usually mean it as a compliment. And sometimes it is. Strong women are extraordinary. We organize entire lives out of thin air. We read the room before anyone else knows there's a room to read. We feel the shift in someone's voice. We know when the child is lying about homework, when the parent is scared, when the friend is drinking too much, when the meeting is about to go sideways, when the person in charge is performing confidence instead of telling the truth. Strong women notice. Strong women adapt. Strong women carry. But here's the part we do not like to talk about enough. Being the strong one can't become a trap. Because once people decide you can handle anything, they may stop asking whether you should have to. And even worse, you may even stop asking yourself. You may begin to edit your own pain in real time. You may say, "It's fine," before you even know whether it is. You may tell the funny version of the story because the real version would change the temperature in the room. You may become so fluent in survival that peace feels like a language you should know, but somehow never learned. This has been true for me. I can do hard things. I have done hard things. But I am learning that I do not want my whole identity to be built on how much I can endure. That's not a life. That's a job description. And I am trying now to resign from that position. There are stories I will tell here. I'm going to be just as transparent as I ask of my guests. There are stories I'm still deciding how to tell. There are stories I may never tell in full because other people live inside those stories too. That matters to me. This podcast is not a confession booth. It's not a courtroom. It's not a revenge tour. It's not a public diary with music underneath. It is a place for meaning making, a place for women to sit inside the complicated truth of their lives without having to make themselves smaller, nicer, simpler, or more inspirational than they actually are. Because real healing is rarely adorable. Real healing can look like crying in the pantry. It can look like rage. It can look like sleeping for 10 hours after years of pretending 5 hours was enough. It can look like not answering a text. It can look like telling the truth and then having to live with that truth and how it changes things. It can look like realizing that the version of you everyone applauded was also the version of you who did not know how to ask for help. That realization can break your heart and it can save your life. So, why this first episode? Why call it "The Strong One Finally Sat Down"? Because that is the image I keep coming back to. A woman who has been standing for years, standing in the kitchen, standing at the copy machine, standing at the funeral, standing in front of the staff, standing beside the hospital bed, standing in the doorway of her child's room, standing between people who would rather not face each other, standing between the past and the future. And then one day, not dramatically, not beautifully, not with perfect lighting or a soundtrack swell, she just sits down. Maybe on the edge of the bed, maybe in the garage, maybe on the bathroom floor, maybe in a chair she bought for reading but never actually sat in because sitting down felt indulgent. And for once, she does not jump back up. For once, she lets the room be messy. For once, she lets someone else be disappointed. For once, she does not translate her pain into productivity. She just sits. And maybe she whispers, "I'm tired." Not, "I give up." Not, "I can't do this." Just, "I am tired." And that sentence, honest and plain, becomes a doorway. In this podcast, I'll talk with women about the rooms they have survived, the rooms they outgrew, and the rooms they are brave enough to build now. We will talk about grief, family complexity, caregiving, burnout, divorce, friendship, motherhood, ambition, identity, faith maybe, or the loss of it, the strange loneliness of being competent, the private cost of being praised for never falling apart, and the slow, sacred work of becoming a person who no longer needs catastrophe to prove her worth. Some episodes will be solo, like this one. Some will be conversations. I want this to feel less like an interview show and more like sitting across from another woman at the kitchen table after everyone else has gone to bed. Shoes off, voice lowered, no need to impress, no need to perform. Just the kind of conversation where someone finally says the thing underneath the thing. And the other person says, yes, me too. Here is my promise to you. I will not rush the hard parts. I will not turn pain into a brand. I will not ask women to be palatable in order to be heard. I will not pretend that rebuilding is always graceful. But I will also not leave us in the wreckage, because this is not only a podcast about what broke, it's about what remained. It's about the woman who kept breathing, the friendships that became family, the small rituals that held us together, the child's hand in ours, the sister friend who kept showing up, the uncle who arrived with boxes and practical love, the meals someone brought, the porch light that was left on, the ordinary mercy of a person who does not need the cleaned up version of the story. This podcast is about the doorway after the storm, not the bright, fake, everything is better now doorway, the real one. The one where your hair is a mess and your eyes are swollen and you are still not totally sure what happens next. But there is air, there is light, there is a little room to breathe, and you are still here.